guys, what's up? It's me, Emily. Welcome back to another reading vlog. I am doing it. I'm reading Fourth Wing. So far, I am on page 76, chapter 7, and I am enjoying it. This is the first book I read after reading A Court of Silver Flames and reading the Acotar series last month. I just miss Nesta. I knew that the next book I read, I was going to feel that way, so I wanted it to be a really good book. It's good. I like it so far. It is like one of those books though, and I felt this way a little bit about Acotar, where it's like this would never happen in real life, not just because there's dragons and magic and stuff, but like this idea that's very present in like the Harry Potter series of the protagonist just continuously escaping death in circumstances that they would probably just die. And it seems like it's just the beginning of that. So that is always like a little bit annoying to me, given the circumstances of like Violet just being so unfit for the Rider Quadrant. If she really felt Violet should have been in that quadrant, like I feel like she should have had her training from when she was born. I feel like she felt that strongly about her being a, Sorengale. Like I just feel like she should have and possibly would have realistically had her been training, you know, as long as her sister trained. But maybe she just like had a come to Jesus moment 6 months ago and was like, oh, I can't have a child be a scribe. I loved the creative way that the world building was thrown on us as she was crossing the parapet. I'm learning new words here. Yeah, we got the world building in a very creative way as Violet had to cross into the Rider's Quadrant. Also, you should know this will be a spoiler-free vlog. I will kind of speak in code, but if you have read it, I'll make sure you know what I'm talking about when I react to certain things. I went to 3 different bookstores. Well, I went to 2 different bookstores, but I called 3 different bookstores to get this book. It's a really high demand book, and I'm excited to see what the hype is about. I do expect it to be good. I also just think this book is gorgeous. Okay, I'm blabbering now. I'm gonna go read a little bit and then go to work. This light is giving like major, it's a little warm. Anyway, Violet is up in the tree. The people below the tree are about to kind of like disperse. Nobody knows she's in the tree yet, although I think somebody's about to. I don't think Zayden wants to hurt her. I think it's all an act. Not because I don't think he's not loyal to his family, or not because I don't think he doesn't like Violet's mom, but I think he understands what the situation is. That's all. I know I said my mind is still very much kind of in A Court of Thorns and Roses, but early on this relationship is definitely giving like the beginning of A Court of Mist and Fury, and I am here for it. I'm liking the politics of it so far. I think Dane could potentially be giving Tamlin. Not sure yet, but I can see it. Okay, so the thing that's a little weird to me so far, and maybe it's kind of like the charm of this book and of Violet, is, I don't know, I feel like these stakes are really high in this world. Like, it is kind of like the Hunger Games. Everyone's like, you're all gonna die. People are dying, Kim, all around us. But Violet's just like her voice in it so far has been pretty, like, she doesn't seem that scared. I don't feel like she's taking it as seriously as it is. But again, maybe that's kind of her thing. And like, she's, you know, she's an intellectual, so she's, I don't know, maybe she's just Gen Z and just aloof and unbothered by it all. Okay, I did kind of just call this, but the advice is so different from Zayden's throw a few daggers at his head approach after Dane tells her to steer clear of Jack. It's like, it really is giving Rysand and Tamlin and the difference of how they treated Feyre, and yeah, I see the parallel. Also, sorry if you've never read A Court of Thorns and Roses and you're tuning in on this, but you should absolutely read it. Like, I feel like most people that are reading this have read it. If you haven't, just put down what you're doing and go read that. Okay, talking about like how Zayden's dragon looked right through her the first day, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm still like comparing this to Court of Thorns and Roses, but it just reminds me of like Mating from that series. And like, does the dragon know Violet's heart? Has the dragon like seen into the future? I don't really quite understand all of the rules of dragons yet. Like, where do they go when they're not at threshing? think it's called. You know, like, what's their habitat? Like, what did they do in their spare time? Like, I'm not really clear on, like, that part of the world yet. I don't know. I think Zayden's dragon either, like, thinks that, like, Zayden and Violet are, like, meant to be together, or, like, knows that Violet is gonna, like, save the world, or, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Zayden's dragon has communicated something to Zayden about Violet that has been positive, and that's just my thought. That's how I feel. I will say that her matte technique is pretty admirable, if I do say so myself. Okay, sorry, I just woke up, so I'm a little like, ew, I need to wash my hair. But they're about to go to a presentation, and I don't know, I'm just finding everything really predictable. It's like, I knew there was gonna be, what is it, a feather tail? Obviously. So far, there's been nothing surprising at all. It's like I'm kind of like waiting to get to the parts where I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Only on page 145, it's almost 500 pages, so we'll see. So we are at threshing. I feel like I keep saying that wrong. Threshing. So we are at threshing, and how do I say this without spoiling it? We have returned back to the crowd, and all hell has broken loose, as they say. It's cute. I like the dynamic. I kind of thought something like this might happen, but I do feel like now I'm like in it a little bit more. Like threshing, I think, marks the point of this book where I'm like, okay, I want more. I'm on chapter 16. Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it now. Hey guys, welcome. I am in the Outer Banks on vacation and so relaxed, loving life, reading. Threshing is over. We know about the Black Dragon. We know about the connection with the Black Dragon. I can't say I'm surprised by that or by what happened with Dane at the end of Threshing. I'm just not sold on this being like the best book of the year yet. I am not even halfway done yet. It's written very well and it moves, and I feel like we are just kind of getting into it, but I'm not sold yet. If Violet wasn't the main character, like, I feel like her life would go very differently, which always annoys me a little bit. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep reading and see what happens. this lighting is weird and like my hair's wet and I don't have any makeup on. That's fine. So I'm on page 276. It's been a minute since I checked in. Like it has not really like held my interest in the way that I thought it was going to. Oh, look at the camera shadow. Oh my god, the lighting's way too crazy right here. I need to move this. I'm not super connected to any of the characters yet, like I'm not gonna lie. I don't even think there's like that many like exciting things that have happened since I checked in last. I swear I'm not just saying that because I want to be like, it's like, it's so hyped, it's overrated. I want to like this book so much. So sometimes I feel like with books, people only remember like the last quarter if it was really exciting. Sometimes it's like the first half or even more than half of a book can be really boring, but then because the last part of the book is the thing that you remember most because it's the most current thing you read, it like sticks with you more. I don't know. I'm hoping that the last part of this book will be better. Yeah. Okay, so I just finished chapter 22 on page 280 and I'm just like, there wasn't enough build up for me. Like I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but I am coming off of A Court of Silver Flames where like there was insane build off and the payoff was amazing. I don't feel like that really came from anywhere. I mean, it obviously came from somewhere. When a character's like, oh, they're so hot, like a few times, like that's not enough of a build up for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't know. Okay, I am finishing this book today. I'm doing it. I'm on page 334. They are, how do I say this without giving a spoiler? They've made some moves. They're getting a battle brief. If you know, you know. The kind of supporting characters like Redoc and like people in that kind of group, like I don't feel like they are developed enough. They don't have a lot of really specific characteristics. Like I felt like in acotar, every single character was so specific and I just knew who they were right away. With this one, I get kind of confused because I feel like the supporting characters don't have like super strong characteristics, if that makes sense. That's something that I'm definitely missing from this. Okay, I'm just like confused. So like they're fine 1 second and then the next second Mira's just like, oh my god, the wards are down. I feel like in good, not only just fantasy books, but books in general, like when there's like a climax moment or a moment of like when like the action really starts, I find the books that I really like, or the catalyst for that exciting moment to start has been like building up and it like makes sense based on where all of the rising action was. It's like connected to it. This to me is like not exciting when you're just like, oh, I left my wards down. It's like, okay. Like it's not connected to, and maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not what really happened. Like maybe you know, Violet's mom did something or whatever. But to me, like it would be way more interesting and emotional to me as a reader if the reason that they were all fleeing this place was connected to intentional human choice, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I've felt about this book in general. Like a lot of the struggles that Violet goes through is just because like that's kind of the way the world is. Like yeah, like there are characters that obviously like challenge her and stuff, but like the huge problem I think that she has is just that she's living in this world that's like difficult. And to me that's not as interesting. It's like it almost feels like the villain and like the antagonist in this story so far is just like the world itself. I'm a huge character study person, so to me, like, that's not interesting. I need a villain. When it comes down to it, I need a clear villain, and that's not something that this really has given so far. Yes, there are characters that obviously have made things difficult for Violet, but there's not like a clear antagonist. I think especially in a fantasy book, like that's just kind of what I need. And maybe there is, and it's just like yet to reveal itself. Yeah, it's just like the same thing with the love interest that's going on here. Like, there wasn't enough of a build-up, like, other than them just finding each other attractive, like, physically. I don't know, like, in other stories that, like, I really enjoy the romance in, there's just a little bit more of, like, a deeper build-up. I do love the dragons. Like I love their voices as well and their like characters, and the way they communicate is pretty snug. It's like you have these great characters in these relationships, but let's like do something with them. And I don't know, it could just be like this is also the first book in the series, and oftentimes like I guess that's kind of how it goes. And yeah, now it's just like, okay, great, like everything's fine now, and we've moved on to another school-related training conflict, I guess I could call it. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I felt like we were like finally like building something, even though it wasn't exactly like what I wanted, and it lasted for like 5 pages, and now everything's fine again. And now we're back in school doing basically a game, and I just like don't care. Like the stakes are not high enough for me. Because I know Violet's not gonna die. She's the main character. So like the conflict just needs to be rooted in something deeper. I don't know. And again, maybe that's where we're heading, but we have, I don't know, like 150 pages left. Yeah, I do love like the relationship between Violet, Zayden, and the 2 dragons. I think it's pretty trolltastic. They got the saddle. Okay. Oh, hold for plane. I didn't cry with the lightning, but I did get a little emotional. And that's the first time, I think, the entire book that I've gotten a little emo. We need an enemy. Like, we need a villain. Where's the villain? Where's the villain? I do always really appreciate the difference between the way Dane and Zayden react to things, specifically the lightning. Amazing. And I do love Andarna. She's very snug, and I just love her a lot. Okay, yeah, Zayden's pretty cool. On to chapter 30 here. Ow, just hit myself in the face. Yeah, I liked his little speech that he just gave to Violet about kind of like how, like what makes them similar. Like neither one of them really chose to be there. Oh. I haven't read a lot of fantasy, but the ones that I have read, written by women, both men and women characters take oral contraceptives. It's equality, you know, it's crazy. It's starting to get interesting learning about the scars on Zayden's back. I feel like we're setting up for some potential drama, which I'm all for. God, these boys that are like, don't fall for me, and then they like stay the night and buy the girl flowers. It's like, come on. Okay, I love the way, I'm on page 393. I love the way Violet is handling Zayden's like back and forth, like sad boy mixed signals. It's perfect, and every young woman should do exactly as she does. It's so good. Oh no. Maybe I spoke too soon. Okay, this whole thing when Zayden's like, there's no future for us. It's like, you're, given the circumstances between them, like dragon-wise, it's like, that's not, like, that's obviously not true. It's obviously not true. Like, stop being a little sad boy. This is like child slavery. There's like a lot of
It's pretty harrowing.
It is pretty heinous. The way they lay it out on page 407 and like the top of chapter 32, it is kind of like, wait, this is pretty heinous. This is pretty fascist behavior. Now, okay, now I'm starting to get into it a little bit because I'm seeing the villain form. I think that, like, my take on this so far is that this is a slow burn of a first book in a series, and so I'm gonna let that be what it is. The kind of earth-shattering, I would say, thing has been revealed, and I knew there was something suspicious about what happened on Threshing. Like, in Threshing, on Threshing, during Threshing. To not give any spoilers, obviously, you could kind of catch my drift. I'm not really surprised, and I'm not, like, actually that concerned with, like, the greater good, if that makes sense. And I'm kind of for it. Like, I'm extremely for this. It makes sense to me. It's getting good now. It's getting interesting. The fact that there's something happening beyond the school is very interesting to me. It was like all of this like school stuff. It just felt very low stakes, and now we have raised the stakes. There is potential for a lot of really like complex relationship dynamics between like Violet and her mom, her sister, Zayden, like all these people, Liam, like all these people. On page 446. It is crazy because it's like at the beginning of this book, sorry, there's a plane, but at the beginning of this book, like I'm reading about the people with the rebellion relics, and it's like, are they scary, like whatever, and it just like, yeah, it's just very symbolic of the lies we're told, and like who's good, who's bad, what looks good can actually be evil, and what looks evil can actually be good, all that stuff, Sorry. It's not like super groundbreaking, but at least now it's getting a little interesting. I'm also just really sus now about Brennan and his death and like where Violet's father was in all of this. It seems like he might have actually been like on the side of the rebellion. Violet's dad is a scribe and he's like super into history, and usually people that study history, I tend to believe that like if you really, really know your history, like you're probably going to be a little more liberal just because like you understand the way power and greed and like dictatorship and like all that stuff works, and like fear, like you understand the way fear can control people. I'm really interested to know more about Violet's dad and like what his relationship was like with her mom, and kind of like what the status quo was with him when he died, and like was he actually killed, like is the way that was reported that he died the way that he actually died. Yeah, I just have a lot of questions about the dad and the brother, and I feel like there's a lot that is going to surprise us about those two characters specifically. It only takes one desperate generation to change history, even erase it. One generation to change the text, one generation chooses to teach that text, the next grows, and the lie becomes history. It's just so real in our lives in ways that I think most people don't even understand. Scribes hold all the power. So it's getting a little scary. This is why you tell people like what's going on. This is why like you don't lie to people that you should trust, because you are gonna get royally if you keep stuff from people that can help you. Moving on to chapter 36 here. Just also like another example of boomers not preparing millennials for the world that they actually live in. You destroyed this world, and now you want to pretend everything's a certain way, but we are the ones that actually have to deal with it. These younger generations have to fix the mess that the older generation left behind because they are too cowardly to deal with the truth of what's going on in the world. And then it's like, and then they punish us for trying to make things better. It's like they gaslight us. This younger generation is so gaslit. And I think that this book does a really good job of like showing that through symbolism of like this fantasy world. I love symbolism. It's such a turn on. My first tears are because Andarna, I love her so much. Yeah. Andarna is like the vibe. Wow. Didn't see that coming. I just finished, the last like 3 sentences of the book. I will read the next one. I'll read the next one, okay? Let me just, I need to gather myself and then I'll give my final thoughts and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. Oops, that's crooked. There's some basketball happening across the street, but I think it's kind of a nice vibe. Okay, so yeah, just finished Fourth Wing, which acts as a great bounce. Going into this book, as I've said, I went into it coming off of the Acotar series, which the last book in that series is literally my favorite book of all time. Between that and just the amount of build-up this book had, like, I had to go to 3 different bookstores in New York City to get it. And just, like, everyone's reading it. It has amazing reviews on Goodreads. I was just kind of like... I was expecting a lot. I was like, oh, this is rated higher than Acotar, like this is gonna be good. The way I would describe this book is a slow burn. It's very much like the first book of what I believe is going to be a very good series. It just took a while for me to care about the characters, but I think that that's also because there was just stuff that like I didn't know. And once I learned, I started to care about the characters more. I kind of want to give this specific book like a 4 out of 5. It definitely was not like a 5-star read. It wasn't something that like I read it and I was just like absolutely turning the pages and like couldn't put down. I like barely cried once. I wasn't like addicted to it like I was expecting to be. The last like 50 pages of the book, I'm just like, okay, like I think I'm in this now. I have a lot of questions about Violet's family and the whole dynamic, and I am very excited to read the second book. I have a feeling that the second book will be a 5-star read for me personally. I would recommend this to fantasy readers. It's really hard, I think, to appreciate a book when it's so built up. Sometimes building a book up so much, you know, it affects your experience reading it. I would recommend it. I would just say like try to ignore the hype around it as much as possible and like take it for what it is. I do love the main character and I can see myself playing her, which is also very exciting. When I'm reading something, I would love to play Violet. I think she's kind of a big old weirdo, and she's also just so like ultimately this is a story about like underdogs and courage and like fighting for, you know, what you believe in spite of all odds, you know. Yeah, I'm excited for the next one. So I think that's it. I don't, you know, we'll just end this here. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. I hope it was entertaining. Yeah, if you like what you see, please give me a little thumbs up, give me a little subscribe, comment below if you have any other like books maybe you want me to do a reading vlog for, any other specifically fantasy book recommendations. Next on my list is Throne of Glass, the Throne of Glass series. I'm thinking about doing like one vlog for the entire series. I'm not sure yet. But let me know if you have any other video requests, and yeah, that's it. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!